Hello there guys, in this lesson we'll learn about strings, what they are and how to use them. So without further ado, let's start. Now, if you remember, we have been using chars to store letters or numbers, but essentially characters. So let me say I have char here with name A and I want to store there the letter H. Okay, I then can print it like so. We build it. Oops, there's an error here. We build it and then run it, and as we see here, we get the letter H. Now, I want to print hi, for example, the message hi. Then I'll define another char here, storing the letter I, and also another char here. And if I wanted to print all of these characters, I'll need to print them one by one. And as you see here, we get the message hi. I wanted to add a space in between this. I'll need to do something like this. Define a space here. Then we would need to print this character, this new character. You see, we get a message hi. Now, if you think the same, if you think that this is like a very long way to doing things, then you're completely right, because okay, this can work, but still for short messages. Because if we had like, let me say, a paragraph with 100 words, then it would be absurd to have a chart for every letter that this paragraph would have. We would also need charts for spaces or question marks and so on. So this doesn't make any sense. How do programmers print text? And the way they do so is by using strings. Now, what strings are? Well, basically, we can delete all of this. We just tap the keyword string. We go here, give it a name like A, and then inside double question mark, double. Sorry, double quotes. We just type the messages we want, like hi. Let me make it a little bit longer. Hi, there. We just need to print this string here. As you can see here, we get a message here. Now, okay, but how does strings do this? What actually is string? Well, what string actually is like, it's a char array. Let me give it a name like A1, which stores all the chars inside it. Like, we can also define, let us say, a string like this. And if I were to copy this and paste it here, and if I wanted to print A1, we build it, then run it, and as we see here, we get the same message. Or let me say hello there to make the distinction. We get the message here. Now, basically, char arrays were the way how we used to define strings in C. But in C++, we use strings because they have some extra things, some extra features. For example, strings do actually know their size. For example, if I wanted to get the size of this char array, typing size, an error would be here, would pop up because it doesn't actually know its size. But if I want to have A, just A, we build it, no error is here, and if we run it, we get actually a number of characters that are in this string here. That's pretty cool. We can also get input from the user, like command in. We just use A here, and then we can print back what the user has entered. Let me build it and run it. Let me say hello. As you see, we get back the hello word. We can also do it with char arrays. It's not like we're going to use char arrays a lot, but still, just to know that you can also do it with this. As we see, we get the same word here. Now, a question might arise. Well, what if we want to add multiple words? Like, for example, I want to add a whole sentence. Like, let me build it and run it. Hello. what is happening? I only get the first word here. Why does this happen? Well, the problem here is because command in actually stops when it hits new line or a space here. And the moment that it hits the space, we actually store what's before the space and we leave the rest in the buffer. Okay, what buffer is, we will talk about it later, but for the moment you just know that these characters here aren't stored anywhere. Okay, they are waiting to be stored. And that is why we only get the first word here. Now, if I wanted to get the whole sentence here, I would use a function like getLine. It should be something like this. We enter command in, and then the string here. We build it, and then run it, and I type the same one. Oh, okay. I've printed here A1 and not A. I've stopped the input at A, but I was printing A1, so that's why it didn't make any sense. Like, hello, you there. As you see, we get the same sentence here. Hello, you there. Okay, pretty cool. Now we can read whole sentences and we can store them. Now the problem was I was talking with command in. I just wanna clarify what it was. Now let me just declare two other strings. String B and string C. Now, as I said earlier, let me just show you what I want to do. Now, if I were to, as we said, to type a sentence here, then I would only get the first, let us say, whatever it was before the first space. Now, what has happened with these other words here? Now, normally what you would think is that, okay, we would probably need to use another, we would probably need to give to store them somewhere because the computer wouldn't just delete them. And yes, that is what happened. Let us say here, we give the first string here, then we print it out, then we get a second string here, then we also print it out, and then we get the third string here and we also print it out. Now, if we build it and run it, this is the first string. What we get here is, we get all the strings here. Let me just show you, just make it clear. Sorry. As you see here, we get the strings here. So the first string has stored the hello word, the second one has stored the you, and the third one has stored there. Now, how this works is because when we first read the first string, we have entered the whole message here, but only the first part has been stored, then the command in has been stopped, and we also have the other words there in the computer. They are not deleted, they are not gone, but they just haven't been stored. So when we use the command in, the second command in, the command line doesn't ask us for an input because it already has an input. It has the other words here. It actually gets the you part, and then it stops at the space, and then we ask for another input, which would be the string C, but it already has input there. It has the there word that is being waited to be stored, and it actually stores it there, and then it hits new line and it just stops. So this is how the problem with command in is, because that if you wanted the user to enter multiple inputs, then if you were to have something like this, it just wouldn't work. Normally we could enter it like this. This is how we would want it to work, like hello. I print something like this and also something like this. This is how we want it to work. But if we were to just have 3 words here, then it automatically get all the words here and not just sentences. That is why we can use getLine to avoid this problem. So that was everything about strings, guys. See you next time.